Hello, and welcome to the Building an Indie Business Podcast with SupremeRumHam. I'm your host, Alex. Today, I wanted to discuss goals. I want to discuss my goals that I achieved in 2019 and the goals I didn't achieve in 2019. I also want to discuss my goals for 2020 for myself and for Open Podcast. Okay. But first, I wanted to discuss, I wanted to give a shout out to friend of the podcast, Rizul. He has a new Chrome extension, which will help you get rid of all the clutter in web pages when you're reading an article. So, have you ever been reading an article or been to a new web page and just ads pop out at you? I know one website specifically, you click on one of their articles and you have to scroll through a bunch of ads before you can actually read the article. So, with Rizal's reader mode, you click on the icon in your Chrome browser and it will get rid of all the clutter in the web page. It'll get rid of all the scrolling ads, all the picture ads. You'll just have the article. It's pretty great. The Pro version comes with the ability to highlight, dark mode, auto scroll, a notes list, the ability to search Google from the app, and Google Translate. That's readermode.io. Check it out. It's one of my favorite Chrome extensions now. Okay, so let's get into it. My 2019 goals that I achieved. So, my first goal was to start a new project, and I achieved that goal. I started a podcast. That's one project. I also started a podcast directory, but I had to cut that. But I started Open Podcast. So yeah, that was one goal. My second goal was to finish school, and I finished that on December 16th. So, check. My other goal was to get a job, and I did that in September. My final goal that I reached was release an episode of the podcast every week since I launched it in March, and I've done that so far. Okay, now let's get into the goals I didn't reach this year. One goal I had was to launch a new project. I didn't launch anything except for the podcast, but I wanted to launch something that I was making with code. That didn't happen. My next goal that I didn't reach was read every day. And once I got the job, it kind of became difficult for me to read every day because I read before bed, and once I got the job, I would just fall asleep. So I didn't reach that goal. Okay. That's it for 2019. My goals for Open Podcast for the year, for 2020. My first goal for Open Podcast is to finish the forum. I'm pretty close to being done. If I focus that on the forum fully for a couple weeks, then I should be able to finish it. Hopefully by March or April, I'll have it done. But I don't know. It's a lot of new things for me. This is how I'm learning to react. So it might take some time, but I just need to put more focus into it. Stop getting distracted. My next goal for Open Podcast is the newsletter. And really, I just need time to figure out the newsletter and get it all set up. I already have an idea of what the content will be, so I just need time to gather that content and send it out to everyone. I think once the form is done, I can focus on the newsletter. So we'll see. The next goal that I have is to write more for Open Podcast. My problem with writing is I need to do a podcast episode on what I want to write about, and then I summarize that podcast episode in writing after I did the podcast episode. So I'll listen to the podcast episode and I'll write from the podcast episode summarizing what I said. So I just need to do what I want to write as a podcast episode, or just speak it out loud, and then I'll be able to write about it. I don't know. Since I've done the podcast, I've taken my podcast episodes and I've turned them into articles. So I've gotten used to doing that, and it's hard for me just to sit down and write something that's brand new. I have to say it and figure out what to say in audio form before I can write about it. I don't know, that's something I need to work on as well. The last thing I want to do for Open Podcast in 2020 is grow the community. And how I've been doing that is reaching out to people. I say, if anyone talks about podcasting on anything, any website I'm on, then I reach out to them. Say, hey, join Open Podcast. We can help you. Join the community. It'll help you. So yeah, I've been doing that. But that's a lot of work to reach out to different people one at a time. So I need to figure out how to get more people at once. Some people have come to the community from my articles, but they join the community and they don't really interact with anyone. So, or they check it out and then they'll be in the group, but they won't become like a recurring member. So I have to figure out how to get people to come back after they join. Yeah, that's what I need to do. That's how I grow the community, because right now I struggle to have like a conversation always going in the community. So I think the more people in the community that are core members, then it'll be easier to have a continuing conversation in the community. So there's not always like 12 hours between conversations. There's always a continuing conversation. Okay, those are all my goals for Open Podcast. Now, the goals for me personally. One goal is I want to release 52 episodes of the podcast. And why I want to do this is because that means I've been doing the podcast for a year. And I like the sound of saying, hey, I've released 52 episodes. I've been doing podcasting for an entire year. That's why even during the holidays, right now, I'm releasing this episode. because I really want to hit that 52 episodes mark. I think I'm in the 40s right now, or the high 30s. So if I release an episode every week up until like the first or second week of March, then I will hit 52 episodes, because the podcast started on March 8th, but I released 2 or 3 episodes on the day of the launch. I released the trailer, the About Me page, and about the podcast directory. Not episodes, not page. And so those are 3 episodes. And then if I release it every week by the 50th week, that'll mean I have 52 episodes. Okay. And the final goal I have for myself for 2020 is I want to get a new job. So yeah, I'm gonna take my time switching off between the forum, doing the forum, and looking for a new job next year. So hopefully I find a new job soon, and I'll be able to add a check mark to that goal for 2020. Okay, thank you for listening. If you have an interest in podcasting, come join the community. I have the link in the show notes. If you want to create a podcast episode, but you don't want to go through the hassle, you can join the open podcast community and do a podcast episode, and I will add it to the open podcast community podcast feed, and all you have to do is send me your audio and the show notes, and you will get the feel for podcasting without having to go through the hassle of creating your account on a host and going through all the hassle of setting up the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, and Google. I've already done all that. So all you have to do is send me the audio and what you want in the show notes, and you're good. Okay. Have a nice day. Thank you for listening. You can reach out to me on Twitter, at SupremeRumHam, and on Telegram at SupremeRumHam. Okay. Bye. You still there? Okay. I don't have a joke right now, but I wanted to say Happy New Year. See you in 2020. Bye.